Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Mara. Today I will be watching a little bit of true crime on YouTube. Basically, I had trouble posting the movie reaction to Naked Gun, but it worked. So I didn't know that it will. I didn't know that it will work, but it did. So I was planning on doing true crime as you guys stated in the comments for yesterday Saturday and today Sunday. But since the movie worked, I took the day off yesterday because my daughter had her football match, so I couldn't do anything, and that was the same for today, and therefore I'm doing this. I'm gonna do this reaction from the Crime Busters YouTube channel. It says that this is Creative Commons license, that I am allowed to reuse the material, but I hope there's no problem with that, and I will link to the original video in the description below. I do love true crime. Actually, my husband watches this every day. Sometimes I'll be like, "What you trying to learn? What are you trying to learn, or what are you looking for? Like, what do you want to learn?" No, we do actually love to watch this type of stuff. Sometimes it's educational, like you may see how people behave and so on and so forth. Maybe you can get an idea, a red flag or whatever. Sometimes you will never see it coming. So yeah, and I don't really know how YouTubers do stuff like this, where they have their whatever they're watching and the camera set up together so they can pause, and it poses on the camera. I don't know how to do that, so it will be hard for me to pause and talk at the same time. I'm not gonna edit the whole thing, so I'm just gonna watch and maybe try to speak and lower the sound where I'm talking, so y'all may hear me. But yeah, so I hope y'all guys enjoy this reaction. This is something new for my channel, and I do really love this kind of stuff. And I couldn't do a Netflix one because I have to edit all the time, and it's like series, so I have to do like episode wise, and that would have been a little bit troublesome because I cannot do this like every week or every time. But yeah, this will be interesting. So this is called Larry El Eyler Larry Eyler, I think you say. He's an American serial killer. So yeah, let's dive into it.
Larry William Eyler was born on the 21st of December
Larry.
1952 in Crawfordsville, Indiana. He was the youngest of four siblings to parents George Eyler and Shirley Kennedy. George was an
And the
alcoholic
crazy thing
and was
is
known
that
to have abused both
some
his
people
wife
look
and
so
children.
they
The
look so
pair divorced
usual,
when
like they
Eyler was
look
only
like
2 years
everyone,
old.
and then they turn
He
around and
thought
do
that this
stuff
would
like
now be the
this.
end of his turbulent childhood, but he was wrong. His mother was unable to cope with four children, so Eyler and his sister were often put into the care of other people, namely foster care or the care of the older two children. When
Don't
the two
have kids
youngest were
if
in
you
care,
cannot take care of
their mother
them.
regularly visited
My
them.
mother,
Eyler claims that his family were very
I was
close,
living at my
and
grandma,
his
and
mother
then I
wasn't
lived
able
at
to support
different
four
people's
children as a
places,
lone
like
parent, but
family
insisted
members,
she was a good
and
mother.
it was really rough,
Eyler
really
attended
really rough.
school in Lebanon, Indiana, and it was remarked that he was a quiet but polite, nice boy. But in spite of this, Eyler was bullied for being from a poor family and for being in care. His sister regularly stood up to the bullies for him. Eyler's mother hated being on her own. She craved the company of a man, and met and married another man quite quickly. The marriage didn't last long, and within 15 years, she had remarried 4 times.
Oh my
Some of the
god.
men who were regarded as
How
Eyler's
you try after
stepfathers
the first
were
time? I could
also
never.
abusive towards the children in the house.
Oh my god. That is my
Eyler,
biggest
unable to keep
fear,
his hatred
to marry
inside,
somebody
had
else
many
that is
bouts of
doing this
anger,
to my
which scared
children.
his mother
I
into
am
placing
really
him
scared of that.
into a school for unruly boys. While there, he underwent assessments which stated that although he was a well-rounded boy, he held a lot of abandonment and separation anxiety, which was brought on from his childhood and being placed into care on many occasions.
That is so sad.
Eyler didn't manage to graduate from high school, as he just wasn't bothered about school and education. But he went on to find work as a security guard at the local Marion County General Hospital. Due to his tall appearance, this seemed a good fit for him. This job didn't last long. He was let go after a mere 6 months and then found work in a shoe store. On the 3rd of August 1978, Eyler was driving in Terre Haute when he picked up a young hitchhiker by the name of Craig Long. The pair were driving along the road when Eyler stopped and threatened the boy with a knife.
Oh my god.
Craig, thinking he was being robbed, stated that he had no money, to which Eyler replied he
Did he
didn't want his
survive
money.
though?
He handcuffed Craig and got out of the car. The boy attempted to escape and Eyler stabbed him through the chest into a lung. Craig decided then and there that he would pretend to be dead. Eyler, in fear, went back to his car. Craig then made his way to a nearby house where the occupants called the paramedics. Eyler, knowing he had done
Oh my god.
wrong, got to the house where Craig had made it to and offered the keys to the handcuffs, stating that it was an accident.
Oh my god.
He was arrested and taken into custody with the finding of a hunting knife, the weapon in this unnecessary attack on an innocent man. Charged with aggravated battery, he agreed to plead guilty. But when a friend of Eyler's offered Craig a sum of money to drop the charges,
What?
he did, and Eyler was let off.
Really? Why
Finally,
would you do that?
Eyler had come out as gay. He had been struggling with his sexuality for years. 4 years after the 1978 event, a spate of murders had begun happening. All victims were young males. On the 3rd of October, the body of Delvoye Baker was found. He had been
Was he
strangled
sexual
and dumped on the side of the road
by one of the
in
fathers?
Indianapolis.
Because most
The
of the
bodies just
time
kept
it's
coming.
that.
On the 23rd of October, the body of Stephen Crockett was found after he had been stabbed an incredible 32 times.
That's a lot.
Then in November, Robert Foley was found, having been murdered by an unknown assailant. And on the same day, a call from a hospital came through to say that another man, Craig Townsend, had been brought in. He had been badly beaten and drugged, and this attack was very similar to the previous bodies.
Why would you do that though?
But when police arrived to question him, he had fled. In December, 3 further bodies were found. They were of John Johnson, John Roach, and Stephen Agan. All bodies were dumped on the side of the road in Indiana, giving this active serial killer the name the Interstate Killer or the Highway Killer. This killer was finding young men and killing them in ways that shocked the police. He had to be caught, and soon. But there were no real leads on this man, no real clues or evidence that could tie any person to these horrific murders.
I bet everyone
months
was
had
so
passed with no
scared
bodies.
after this.
The police were beginning to breathe a sigh of relief. But in March of 1983,
You strike again?
it all started up again.
Oh my god.
This killer was now active again. Some of the bodies that were found had been murdered long before that they were
Oh
found.
wow.
Some of the victims had been reported missing long before they were
Where did they
discovered.
hide them, though?
Such is the case of David Block. He had been reported missing in late December of 1982 after telling his family he was meeting a friend.
Oh,
His body was found in a field by a farmer in May of 1984.
oh my God.
The body of Edgar Underkoffler was found murdered. Again, another young man. Again, left on the side of the road. Then, Jay Reynolds was the next victim to be named. He was also stabbed to death. April was to be just as grim, with the discovery of 2 further bodies, Gustavo Herrera and Irving Gibson.
Oh my God.
Bodies were now being discovered in Illinois. The killer had moved from Indiana. In May, police from Illinois found the bodies of Jimmy Roberts and Daniel McNeve. During the summer of 1983, Eyler had moved to Indianapolis. He was seen in many gay bars. Many found him suspicious due to his erratic behaviour, and reports were being made to the police about him.
That's
Although
smart.
the police at the time were searching for this heinous
When you
serial
see that
killer,
someone is behaving
it
like
seemed that they
that,
had
you
no
have
time
to
for the
tell the
reported
police
suspicious
because you
behaviour
never know. You will save
of
a
an
lot of
unknown
lives.
male in a bar. But the body count slowed down for this summer. No deaths were being reported until late August, when the body of Ralph Kalisz was found. He had also been stabbed. The doctor who had performed the autopsy on many of the victims remarked on the injuries sustained by these victims and said that the perpetrator must have a lot of pent-up anger inside him to do what he did. His attacks were frenzied and vicious. Then the breakthrough the police needed was to happen in September of 1983. A highways officer had spotted a van parked in a lay-by. The 2 men exited the van. One appeared to be tied up and was being led towards the wooded area. The pair was stopped. The man with Eyler made comments that he didn't want to be tied up,
Oh,
and that Eyler had made inappropriate suggestions to him. Eyler's van was then searched, and the police found tape, clothesline, and a knife with blood on it. But shockingly, Eyler was not arrested after this grim discovery. Instead, the man that he was with was just let go,
what?
and so was Eyler.
Why?
Maybe that was the one that got away.
Oh my God.
After this close call, Eyler either needed to keep his head down or he felt invincible.
But he would do it again. Why are they so stupid?
More bodies were being discovered. Some were skeletal remains of men who had been murdered long before they had been found. But finding them and bringing them home to their families would at least bring some form of closure to the families of
When
these
did they
victims,
catch him, though?
who were still actively hunting for their family members. Derek Hansen, an unidentified male known as John Doe, Michael Bauer, John Bartlett were all named as victims of the interstate
That's
killer.
a lot of people.
In October of 1983, Eyler is finally named as a viable suspect for these merciless killings, much to his family's shock. He was formally arrested, and his van was searched thoroughly, and the evidence, which was seen prior when Eyler was let go, was forensically tested. And it was found that the clothesline in his car matched some of the interstate killer's victims. Boots, which matched with prints at some of the scenes. The van tyre marks also matched.
Oh my God.
And a knife, which had blood on it, was tested to find the blood belonged to Ralph. Other bodies were still popping up, and Eyler had shockingly been let out on a bond.
Oh, what?
He was being followed,
What?
but due to the harassment complaint he made against police,
Who cares?
they
What?
backed off. And other murders were happening
Oh my
right
God.
under their noses.
What?
The final death was a young male called Daniel Bridges. He was found in February of 1984. His body was placed in bin bags and left out.
What?
A local janitor found them and reported them immediately to the police. Many mistakes had been made by the authorities to allow such a man to be let out on more than one occasion. Errors such as evidence not being logged correctly, the accusation of harassment, being questioned for murder even though he was not arrested for it. Many red tape issues that we would not fully understand. Even after Craig Townsend picked Eyler out in a lineup, all of this
Oh my
was
God!
not
And
enough
they
to keep
didn't
this
take
man
it.
off the
What?
streets. Finally, on the 22nd of August 1984, Eyler was charged with the last murder, the one of Daniel Bridges. Now this had to be watertight to ensure the conviction of this man. The apartment he lived in was searched. Although it was clean and newly painted, experts found blood spatter all over the house, blood belonging to Daniel. They found Daniel's t-shirt and the utensils used to separate the body into smaller parts.
Oh
Due to a
no!
not guilty plea, a hearing had to take
no.
place and a long and costly trial was to happen. But in the end, after 3-hour deliberation, Larry Eyler was found guilty of the murder and other charges relating to Daniel Bridges. Eyler showed no emotion when the guilty verdict came in.
Really?
On the 3rd of October, a sentence was reached. This was to say that Eyler would face the death penalty, death by lethal injection. Appeals were launched, heard and rejected. Then on the 6th of March 1994, Larry Eyler died in Pontiac Correctional Centre of AIDS-related complications. His health had deteriorated 10 days prior to his death. It is unknown why Larry Eyler was released from arrest on occasions where he killed again. He was only charged with one murder, but the police know that he is
What?
responsible for over 20
Are
deaths
you
as the interstate
serious?
killer. But how many more, though, we will never know.
Are you serious? Okay. So they are telling me that he was just arrested for one. So you don't see that these all are related to each other, like the way he was killing them and everything. Like what? Sometimes I be wondering how these officers, whatever, how the thought process, how I want to know how they think or how the like the thought process working with this kind of stuff, because there's so many errors that they do. Like I don't know, when it comes like to murder, you hear a lot like the police messed up, they didn't lock in the evidence, this and that. But when it comes to other petty stuff, they're quick to arrest, they're quick to investigate and whatnot. And this gets me so mad because all this could have been prevented. Like the amount of time they got him, and they were like, no, this is some little stuff, like no questioning, why do you have this in your car, why is this, why is that, and like don't they like document stuff? He just stabbed a guy. The first time he did this, he stabbed someone and y'all had him and then y'all let him go. And then he did this with the last guy who got away. He tried to do the same thing and y'all saw the knife and everything, and y'all still let him go. Like, do they do this on purpose? Do they do stuff like this on purpose? Like, I mean, if the same name is coming up many times, why? Like, I want to know how they think. when the same name is coming up, everyone is worried, everyone is scared of this person, people even reporting this person like he's really suspicious, and he stabbed someone, and y'all got him in the car with someone, and y'all found stuff in his car, and y'all still just, no, there's no problem, sir, bye bye. And I don't want to bring in the black man card, but if this was a black person, would this have happened? This is just a question, just a question. This is beyond me. They could have saved so many lives, and the fact that they got him on one person, just one person, and somebody even pointed at him in line. L- Make that make sense. I tell you that this is the person that did this, or this is the person that I saw. And y'all let him go? You, you couldn't ask for, what do you call, um permission to go and to seek his home, to seek, I don't know what. You just let him go. So what was the point of the lineup? What was the point of the lineup if y'all still won't do anything about it? This is the case where they could have prevented a lot of things. They could have got him before. I would have to hear from the detective, the super detective of that time, what he was thinking about, what they were thinking about. I want to see that team. I want to see that team. Like, did they go to school? Did they finish school? How many years have they been working with this type of stuff? Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense for me, because I don't get it. And the other families who, just apart from that, I've heard a lot. I've watched this type of stuff a lot of times, and mostly when people like become like gay or have the need to like go after gay men, it's mostly like anger towards somebody. um I don't know, maybe because his mother got married like 4 times or whatever, and you never know, maybe one of the dads were doing things to him, were abusing him. Most of the times when they go after women, you will see that the mother did stuff to the child, and then they go after people who look like their mother, someone with the blonde hair or brunette, or like if a girlfriend did something, they go after the girlfriend, like someone who looked like the girlfriend, like the type of hair and something like that. So stuff like this is really common. And if I have to say, like, I have not lived with my mother. I've always lived with family members. And I'm not saying like it was kumbaya. I lived with people who didn't like me just because, even if we were family, they didn't like me just because I wasn't their child. Like, you are treated in another way than they treat their own kids. I don't know if you understand. So I've been abused a couple of times, and I've slept without food. I don't want to say everything on here, but I have been through some stuff, and I didn't let my past like become a reality. Because of whatever happened to me, I was like, I'm gonna make sure that my kids have everything they need, that I can afford to give them and that I can give them. I'm gonna give them what they need, like love, support, stuff that I feel like I didn't get. So I didn't let the past influence my future, if you get what I mean. And I know many people let their circumstances of life, like growing up, the way they were raised, the way they were being abused, they let that affect their life. And I'm not saying, people are coping with stuff very differently, and it's unfortunate that people follow that route instead of like getting help, trying to fix whatever happens to them, and they choose like to do this instead. It's really fascinating. It really, I just want to know how these kind of people think. Like, because my stepdad did this to me, I'm gonna do this to somebody else. I just want to know what happened in between that pushed you to choose that way. Like, why didn't you like say, okay, they did this to me, and I'm gonna make sure that some nobody else go through this kind of stuff, or I'm gonna make sure that my kids have the best life possible, or I'm gonna make sure that somebody else who's going through this get out of this. Like, why don't you choose that better way instead? That is really fascinating to me, and I would like to see. I know they're doing studies. I've heard about studies. They're looking at people's brain, like if something was wrong with the brain that pushed people to do stuff like this. And I just think that some things has to do with the circumstances when they were kids. As we heard here, most of the time it's when they're kids, like something happened, and then they grow up with the resentment, they grow up with the anger and hate, and try to do that to somebody else. And that's really unfortunate. Well, I guess this was fun. Fun for this kind of videos. It was fun. Well, I hope to do more of this occasionally. This is not something I'm gonna do all the time. Occasionally, but yeah, thank you guys for recommending. I really do love true crime, um, and I do watch this a lot actually on Netflix. But I cannot do the Netflix one, as I said in the intro. It's like episode wise, and I cannot sit here and do it like all the time. So this was a fun little something, and be safe out there. Be safe. You don't know who you meet. You don't know what people have been through. If they let their circumstances push them to do bad things, you do not know that. So be careful, and you cannot be careful enough. It's unfortunate because some people, you don't see the red flags. They are just normal people, like they do stuff like this, and then they go to work like nothing ever happened. And that is the scariest thing to me, like being fine and good and laughing with someone, and then at night they do stuff like this. That is really scary. And then you'll be like, could he have done this to me? Could he have done this to me? Like, that's really scary. But yeah, be safe out there. Take care of you and your family. Don't let your circumstances um make you a bad person, or don't let your circumstances make you like to become the version of the thing that hurt you, or that um yeah, that hurt you. Be a better person. There is always a choice to become a good person, a better person. There's always a choice to choose good than evil. So yeah, do that, guys. Yeah, thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next reaction. I'm gone. Bye bye.